According to Tank is doing something to save boxing by fighting Jake Paul. He said, like boxing needs this, and it's I don't know his exact words, but because this
He
whole
won't
thing
even
is
believe that.
speculative to
He
me.
won't
But
even bet that on his kids.
yeah. This
So
whole
he
thing's respectable to me. But he said he's doing it to, like basically just to give boxing the light it needs. So he's gonna fight Jake Paul. It was gonna happen in Atlanta, but it got moved to Miami. But
how do
still,
you feel about that?
you said, how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm super upset about that, bro. I'm super upset about that. But nevertheless, man, I'm not, I may still be looking to go, but I don't know. But Tank, maybe he doesn't have to force himself to make 135, right? But Tank's not a big guy. So, like, what do you think he'll come in at? Like 140, 142? You know what I mean? Like
150 at max, bro. At
150,
most. But I'm thinking maybe 145.
145. And then Jake, I don't know if there's any kind of rules for Jake or what weight because his last fight he was over 200.
Yeah, I think he can weigh in at, I think he's supposed to weigh in at 195. However, in terms of rehydration, I'm not sure what that limit is. I'm unclear about that. But just the weight disparity is pretty weird to me. That is a
Yeah,
huge weight disparity.
it's crazy, but it is an exhibition, and I don't know what the weight was for this fight, but Floyd did fight Logan Paul, who Logan Paul's bigger than Floyd as well,
Yeah, but
right?
this disparity is even larger than that.
No, it is. But I
Yeah.
was just saying for these exhibitions, we can see some weird things happen. Was the point that I was trying to make? But I guess even with the weight difference, do you believe Jake Paul can win this fight?
I'll tell you this: he has a high chance. He has a better chance than when Logan fought Floyd. I'll tell you
Okay.
that because I didn't see Logan having no chance. Because obviously, Jake Paul has been more experienced in the sport of boxing than Logan Paul was, right? At those particular points in time of their careers. Jake Paul's the better boxer out of the two brothers. Tank is obviously the favorite. He should win the fight, but given the weight disparity, and then of course they're both going to be using, I think, 12-ounce gloves. I mean, Tank is not a volume puncher. He's a very accurate puncher. He can crack, and he's just all around better. But I don't know how much of a factor that would have in either stopping Jake Paul or hurting Jake Paul. Not saying he can't get hurt, but it's hard to hurt them big guys, man.
The
When
one thing I
they
would say
got you
though
by
is
like 60 pounds.
Jake being being less experienced. What I can see is him getting hit with something that he doesn't see coming, right?
Yeah,
And those are the
yeah.
ones that hurt you the most, especially from a guy like Tank who can punch. So I can see Tank hitting him with some punches from some angles and just like you say, not a volume puncher, but the speed. He's probably gonna be able to evade Jake's punches pretty easily and just counter him with something. So I can see Tank hitting him with some stuff. And probably won't be like, oh, the first one really drops him, but I just can't see Tank losing this. I can't
Yeah,
see Tank losing
yeah.
this.
I think
Unless
Tank
unless
wins
it's
by
set up for him
decision.
to lose.
You
But
said what?
unless it's set up for him to lose,
Uh,
but I can't see him losing this. But it all right. The only way to really justify this is after this, he jumps right back in with Lamont Roach. But as of now, we don't know if he's going to do that. So, did Tank duck Lamont Roach?
I think so. I think he didn't think the Lamont Roach fight was going to be as competitive as he probably thought it was going to be. And now that it's a draw, it's probably not the outcome he anticipated. And according to rumors, he already had the Jake Paul fight kind of set up in the background while this is happening. Hence the reason why Jake Paul attended his fight with Lamont Roach. But things didn't go as planned. And here we are. But I would say he would have had to only because they had a rematch clause. So even if he decides to like retire afterwards, that's fine. You may be justified, but you still ducked. It just might be for good reason.
Yeah, like I get it. He's gonna make the bag on this fight. That's what I'm saying. Like if after this fight you immediately line that back up and say, "Yo, bro, my apologies. I just couldn't leave that money on the table, but I'm here to finish what I started." That's the only way I can look back and say, "All right, you know what? I get it. I get it." But as of right now, when I don't have that knowledge, only thing I know is that he's not taking that fight. It does look like he has ducked Lamont Roach.
Yeah. Do you
And
think he's gonna? What do you think the chances are of him running the back with Lamar Roach after this fight? Because it sounds like he's going into retirement.
but he's been sounding like he's going into retirement for like the last 5 fights.
Yeah,
Um, I,
that's
I,
true.
I would give him a 45% chance. 45% he does, 55% he doesn't.
Okay.
Now this money is going to be different that he makes for this fight, right? So we have to see his reaction after he makes this money, right? But so I would say 45% he does, 55% he doesn't. Um, I think it's a bad look. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna watch. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like I'm gonna protest it. I am gonna watch, but and I think it's on Netflix too, so it'll be easy to watch. So I'll watch. But yes, it's a bad look, especially what it feels like from outside looking in is like when you ran into a little bit of adversity, the fire got too hot. You're like, all right, let me get out the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it feels like. And I'll be completely honest with you. This is another thing I've been very vocal about is Tank beating Shakur. This is giving me second thoughts.
I'm not gonna lie.
This is giving me second thoughts.
It really is. I think the tables are shifting. I don't think people realize how much timing can really affect an outcome of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example is the Errol Spence and the Terrence Crawford, right? If Terrence Crawford had moved up immediately from 135 to fight Errol Spence, in all likelihood, Errol Spence probably would have won that fight, just given his performance against Jeff Horn. I don't know, right? But his chance, he would not have looked how he looked in 2023 versus when he first moved up. So, like years ago, when it first came up, Shakur and Tank fighting, I think Tank definitely would have won, right? But when you allow a fighter like Shakur or the likes of Terrence Crawford or some of these great fighters to get a footing underneath themselves, especially at a certain weight class, or just continuously get the experience fighting different fighters. Shakur at this point, Zepeda, a high volume fighter, and now he fights you. That's not as high volume, but you're another southpaw. You can crack in your accuracy, but now it's a chess match. That is Shakur's domain. That's what he looks for. That's where he's most comfortable, especially as the years has progressed. So now it's one of those things like if you can't hurt Shakur, or if he can stand up to your punching power, right? Then what can you do? At that point, all the leverage and the advantages go to Shakur.
Yeah.
Shakur got great reflexes. Shakur's not a small fighter. So it's like, you know, what can you really do? Especially from what we've seen with Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach is not a superior fighter to Shakur. I would say the only, and they're similar, right? Shakur and Tank sparred each other several times. So did Lamont Roach and Tank. So this commonality now has the gear shifting in my mind. Like, man, Shakur actually might be the one to beat Tank. And maybe Tank deep down may know that. And that's why he hasn't given Shakur a shot yet.
Yeah. I mean that's interesting. It's a bad look. They got into it on X again, right? On Twitter, X, right? So they got into it again, and it's like there's this much hostility and animosity that you guys should just fight, right? And the way it's feeling is Shakur wants to do it, right? But like Tank keeps giving some excuses and this and like, you know, like it was some nonsense. It was like, oh yeah, even your daughter said you almost got knocked out. And Shakur's like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, what does it have to do with anything? Like, either fight me or don't fight me. You know what I mean? So,
in the words of Devin Haney, they say everything but let's fight.
yeah, it's starting to feel like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not completely changing my pick yet, but it is making me uneasy about my pick that Shakur will wake up to a backflip. You know,
That is funny.
It's making me uneasy. In the vein of Lamont Roach, you know, not gonna no disrespect to Lamont Roach, just not today. Not gonna do an entire segment of Lamont Roach at this moment, but he's gonna fight Pitbull Cruz. I'm not sure if that's taking place on 135 or 140. I'm sure Pitbull has no problem making 35. So, but I don't know where that's taking place. But if Lamont Roach wins that fight, do you think should he continue to campaign at 35, or is there a world where maybe he goes down to 30 to challenge the winner of O'Shaquie Foster and Stephen Fulton?
Ooh, that's a great question. I do think he should move back down to 35, try to like reign there, or, you know, at least depending on Shakur's situation and how Shakur and the Teofimo fight comes to fruition or how that looks, you know, maybe take that fight with Shakur, honestly. and then look for O'Shaquie Foster, because to jump down 2 weight classes, that could be that kind of be tough on the body. You know?
Yeah, I'm interested. I guess I gotta find the details. I don't know what weight class the Pitbull fight is taking place. I know Pitbull fought his last few at 40, but I can't imagine Pitbull struggles to make 35.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that it was supposed to happen at 140, but that was a rumor, so I don't know. It's not confirmed. It's not.
But
I might have to look that up.
I think what we're seeing is a lot of these guys are fighting at weight classes they shouldn't be fighting at, and then they're jumping around now, and it seems like they're jumping fast. But I think what's happening is they're getting closer to fighting at the weight class that they should actually fight at, right?
Yes.
Stephen Fulton, in the aftermath of the Inoue fight, he's kind of talked about how it's difficult for him to make 122, said he should have been moved up from 22, right? And it sounds like excuses, right? But I mean, like in some aspect, everything's somewhat of an excuse, right? But it sounds like excuses, right? But then he goes to 26, then he's out of there from 26 really quick. You know what I mean? Now he's fighting at 130. So it's like, it feels like these guys are getting closer and closer to the actual weight classes that they should be fighting at, right? Devin Haney's now about to fight at welterweight.
Yeah.
Even Shakur's going to fight Tio at 140. That's probably closer to where Shakur should, you know what I mean? But like I said, the imbalance of a lot of people being at the incorrect weight class, it prevents some people from fighting where they should probably fight, right?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, so it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but interested to see. I would love for people to go to their natural weight classes, though. Like, I would love to see Sebastian Fundora probably fighting at 60, 68.
Yeah.
Like, go like Hamza Shiraz at 68 or something, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
have the same build, but he won't have the advantages that he has. And I think that's the thing about boxing. People was always looking for advantages. So always looking for advantages. Hence the reason why they're going to weight class that they shouldn't be in. And then, of course, they're saying, well, if you could make the weight, you could make the weight. But, you're making you're using that as a way to really say that fighting at these certain weight classes, you won't have the advantage because you probably can't hang there. So you're trying to go to a lesser to have that advantage because you might, be better off than some of the smaller guys there. Hence the term weight bully coming out. But that's here nor there, So.
Well, jump in the comment section. Tell us what you guys think about this. Tell us what you think about the Tank and Jake Paul. Is it a real fight? Is it a spectacle? Have you lost respect for any of these guys? Are you gaining respect from Jake Paul for fighting an actual active pro now, even though he's smaller? Interested to see the comments. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. 2 cents short of $1. More videos coming soon.